Visual goddess came in 20, 30 minutes ago. I know nothing about this Greek god, um, and I don't know how this is going to go. But many times what I do is I open up the field for who wants to come through and speak to us to give us whatever it is that we need right now. Never do I choose, never do I say I would love to speak to this individual or this spirit, or I'm never in charge. Um, and um, and so I just open it up and see who wants to come through. So I will give you one guess. It is a Greek goddess. I know very little. You guessed it. KL. KL. What's your first name? Kimberly? Aphrodite. Aphrodite. Yep. That's who we're channeling. Christina. Hello, Christina. It's good to see you, my friend. Um, we're doing Aphrodite. I know nothing, not one thing about her. Howdy, West Texas. So this is going to be interesting. I kept trying to push it. I was like, no, you can't, I don't think it's Aphrodite. It can't be Aphrodite. And hi, Sterla. And then I brought Jesus in and I was like, Jesus, is this really who wants to come through today? Like, seriously, it's Aphrodite? And he goes, it's Aphrodite. You have to accept this. This is literally what happens in my right before class. I sit for 30 minutes before class and I'm like, who wants to come through? And sometimes I'm super stoked because I know who this person is. I know what they've done. I'm familiar. And then there's ones that drop in and I'm like, and I argue with it. I'm like, no, 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 can't be. And it stays. They stay. So off we go. Let's see what she wants to say. Um, yeah, I think what I intuitively got as she dropped in was it's about allowing ourselves to break out of these patterns that we don't deserve and that we can't receive, and that desires are bad and sinful, and that we have to close ourselves off of what we came onto the planet to experience, which is the love and relationship and food. And it's interesting that she came in as I'm doing my water fast too. I was like, huh, well, this is interesting, isn't it? Like, and so really, opening ourselves up to what she's going to offer us. And it's definitely deeply connected to programming, the programming that we have been put through on this planet, and that we are really closed off to really understanding the difference between the getting lost in desire and love and creation and food and the things that make us happy, getting lost in that, meaning that that is what creates our happiness, as opposed to enjoying it as the fruits of this planet and really being able to um, fine tune that, because a lot of the beautiful desires that earth gives us turn into addictions or turn into a numbing mechanism. And so it's looked at as sins. You shouldn't have lust and you shouldn't have these desires and you shouldn't have these things. And yet it's part of the planetary experience. So there must be something beautiful about it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be here. And so really being able to fine tune those differences. I've been really curious around Jesus's teachings and the Bible. And I don't believe that we live in sin. I don't believe that we need to, you know, um, get rid of our sins. I think that like there's something really dangerous around that notion of sin, and not wanting for anything. So anyway, let's go in and let's go in and see what she wants to share with us today. Um, Always just sort of take what resonates with you and let everything else fall to the wayside. Whoever comes in, it's always meant for us in some way, shape, or form. Some seed is planted within us as we go about the rest of our day and our weeks and our months. And there's always those little nuggets that we remember, like, oh yeah, and then we go back and listen to different channeled messages. I also wanted to remind you guys, as we are starting to move ourselves into a completely different system for this community, you can go into the Patreon page and you can enter in the search box channeled messages, and all the channeled messages will come through. So if you want to go back, or you can, if there's one you remember, you can type in the search box in the Patreon page. Also here on the Crowdcast page, you can type in like the Michael Jackson channeling, or just channeled message, and it will bring it to you. Okay. Yeah, Jesus had a lot of lovers. That's not going to be told to you in the Bible, but he had multiple wives, and he had multiple lovers, and he had multiple children. But God forbid that should get out. Um, and that's blasphemy in so many ways. I don't know what they say in the Bible about Jesus in terms of his sexuality or his relationship, but I don't think I think they say that he was um, he didn't have sex or something. Um, what's that called when you don't have sex? Celibate. Do they say that Jesus was celibate? Because that's not actually true. um, okay, so let's go in. 12:12. Abstinent. Thank you, Katie. Abstinent. Um, yeah, let's go in. Give me a moment. This is going to be an interesting one. Why would Jesus come to earth to experience being human and not have sex? Good question. That should be a book, Laura. All right, sorry, I'm going in. I don't want to go in. I don't want to do this one. Okay. Aphrodite. For those of you that are joining late, we're doing the Greek goddess Aphrodite. I know nothing about her, but she's here. She's right over there on the right-hand side of my desk where they all stand. She's got this beautiful white kind of robe on. And she's ready to share with us. She says to me, "Thank you for clearing out your channel. The more you clear out the channel, the more potent the messages will be in coming through you." That was just a message she just shared with me. And then she says, "Are you ready to receive my information or my knowledge, my truths?" Yes. She says, "I'm not here to speak about sex. I'm here to share about earthly desires and the connection to God through earthly desire." As many of you know, there is an inversion in the way in which humans experience the physical reality. An inversion is an inverted matrix. And so, what that means, what she's saying, what she's speaking to, is that the way in which we have been programmed to live on this planet is usually the opposite of our natural state. And so if we are taught, not to feel or not to express in certain ways, usually that means that if you start doing the opposite, you'll be living in your natural state. She says, I don't want to rock the boat or create too much uh, controversy over these messages that are going to be streaming through me. But I do want to open up your lens to the way in which humanity has been suffocated or put in chains, in prisons of denial over what is desirable, and beginning to see the beauty in desire and the beauty in gift of um, allowing yourself to experience that which you desire. And knowing that it is a gift from God, or it is a gift as God, and that it is not designed to create a coping mechanism or a defense mechanism or a numbing of the person, but it is to be seen as a gift from God. And even more so, a gift to create and connect to God. So if you start looking at all of the ways in which you have a desire for something, a desire in food, a desire in a lover, a desire in friendship, a desire in connection, a desire with nature, that which lights you up, that creates joy, that creates a smile on your face, that makes you feel alive. That's a gift from God. It's not a negative thing. It's not bad. The reason that there has been this suffocation or suppression in desire, that which makes you feel good, is because when you can have a pure, aligned connection with that which makes you feel good, you will connect to your highest state. You will connect to God. And when it is experienced just as its pure expression, when love is experienced just as love, whether it be through an animal, a child, a lover, a parent, a friend, a stranger, it is the highest expression of God. When you sit and enjoy food simply for the expression and experience of what it's gifting you, joy, peace, calm, whatever that expression is in its purest state, you are connecting to God. You are seeing the gift of food. When you connect to the expression, the physical expression of touch, and the way that it satiates some sort of experience within you, it opens you or allows you to experience that joy. You are connecting to God. Now, what happens is that there are stories around some of these experiences, that it is bad, it is wrong, it is not good. We should not crave for these things or have desire for the things that God has placed in front of us in order to connect straight back to God, God being whatever it is that you see in your own reality, in your own storyline. But we have been taught in the human experience to disown these desires, that they are bad, that it needs to be controlled, that it needs to be only experienced in certain settings, in certain situations. And because the human is so suppressed, deeply, deeply suppressed, what she's showing me right now is like a tightness, a curling in, an inability to actually fully express all of you. That you shouldn't have certain desires; they are bad. These there's a suppression in the human experience in terms of just allowing all of it to be okay, because there is that suppression on the planet. There is a suppression in one's own connection to God, and there always has been. And one of the reasons that there is this suppression in humanity is because it allows the systems that have been in place for a very long time that control humanity, it allows them to continue to control humanity. It's a very disempowered state when you suppress your own desire because the external world has told you that it is not okay. And so what ends up happening is that you find other desires that will compensate for the desires that you have. So, for instance, maybe it's very difficult for you to open up and experience a love that feels freeing and open and sensual and expressive. And so you suppress that desire because you have been taught that it's not okay or that it is wrong. And because you're suppressing that desire, you find another desire, let's call it food, and you start using food as a way in which to experience the suppression. So you start enjoying it. It makes you feel good, but you're not doing it because of its natural experience, right? You're not just doing it because you actually just enjoy what food has to offer you, the pure expression of just eating the food. You're doing it because you are trying to satiate the deeper desire of some sort of expression, sexual expression, let's say, or expression of love or expression of self. Because that suppression is there, that's very unconscious. Humanity uses other desires to satiate it. And so there becomes an addiction to these other desires. And so now you are using other desires in order to be able to experience what the underlying desire actually is, which could be just the full expression of you, the love, the touch, the sensuality, the giving yourself over to a flower or the smells in nature or the way in which water flows down a river, but that real intimate desire to be with God, however that wants to be expressed through you in your most intimate ways. There is a shame or a guilt around that because it has been programmed into the human to be ashamed of that real deep, intimate connection with God, with nature, with humanity. And so the simple pleasures in life that we deem so um, enjoyable, we start to use and abuse, take advantage of, and they become our crutch. And they become that which helps numb us. It's very interesting how the true nature of humanity is to be in what creates desire and what allows for desire, and letting that desire be okay, be felt in its fullest expression. And yet we can't. We can't allow it. It's not allowed. It's not okay. It's not taught. And so the suppression begins, and there's a secrecy to certain ways in which you have desire. And there's a secrecy to what you may be attached to or addicted to. And underneath that addiction or that desire or that guilt or that shame is just this pure expression of you as God, as source, as soul, as spirit, wanting to connect to itself. What's so beautiful about the planetary experience is that it's very physical and all of it is God being expressed as God. And so you get to have all these different experiences and expressions of God, you with you. Food as an expression of God, children as an expression of God, animals as an expression of God, nature as an expression of God, touch as an expression of God, love as an expression of God, sound as an expression of God. How many times have you allowed yourself to get lost in sound and to let sound move through your own physical body as the instrument of awakening this energy, this vibration, this aliveness within you? It's all the same thing, just being expressed in different ways. It's all God speaking through itself into you. It's just that the planet has ways in which we see it as okay or as safe or as good or as bad or as not safe, as sinful. Do not have desire. Well, desire is part of the human experience. Desire is how you connect to God. It's a beautiful, beautiful gift. It's just been inverted or infiltrated so that you don't recognize who you are and how safe you are to experience yourself through so much on this planet. This is an energetic transmission around opening yourself up to that which feels good and allowing it to be okay and to not suffocate it. So long as you see it as the expression of God and not as a way of suffocating or denying or suppressing or um, not experiencing it as the purest expression. Seeing food as God and not as a way to satiate your emotions, i.e., not feel or only feel what you would like to feel. When you are standing in all of the expression of life, all of the experience of life, you start to open up to um, she's calling it like the eroticism of life, the stimulation of life. That a song can create this vibrancy within you, just like food creates this vibrancy in you, just like sexual interaction creates this vibrancy within you, just like falling in love creates this vibrancy in you, just like love for another human or an animal creates vibrancy within you, or looking out at a sunset, it creates that same vibrancy. It all holds the same weaving pattern. It all holds the same pattern. But because some of them feel better than other ones, and some of them are able to make you feel good, we use them so that we don't feel bad. And we go to them over and over again as a crutch to not feel bad. So we start using them as a way of suppressing or hiding just what we naturally feel in the human experience that we don't like. And then we become addicted to the desire that's here just to connect to God. So you see how it becomes a pattern of addiction instead of what it's designed for, which is just a divine connection to you and to all that is and to God itself. And if the systems that be that have been controlling humanity for thousands of years, if they can convince you not to have desire, you will not have God. If they can convince you that connecting in some sort of way with food or with nature or with other humans is bad, then they will allow you to stay disconnected from God. If they're able to tell you that you can only experience God if you do dot, 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 then they have complete control over you. And so they have been able to keep humanity caged into belief systems that suppress God that's all around. All around you is God. Every desire is God calling you to it. Enjoy me, feel me, hear me, taste me. All of it is God. There's thousands of ways to experience God. Humanity isn't taught this. There is judgment and story and labels around desires. And so many of the ways in which we desire in this world have been used to assist us in not feeling. And so, where humanity is at in their evolution right now is learning how to become pure in the desire, experiencing the desire in its purity, not in what we want to get out of it or what we want to hide or ignore or deny or not feel. Well, if I keep having sex with all these different strangers, I will feel good. If I keep eating all of this food, I will feel good. If I keep shopping over and over again, I will feel good. If I keep bringing myself into nature, ignoring what wants to be felt so that I can have some sort of sense of calm or peace, in order to deny or ignore what's also happening in my world, I will feel good. And it goes on and on and on. Instead of just recognizing that there is a desire to be in nature in order to feel God, and everything else gets to be there. There is a desire to be intimate with my partner so that I can connect deeper into God, and everything else gets to be here. There is a desire to eat this food in order to connect to God, and everything else gets to be there. It's just the pure expression in that moment of experiencing God through some other form. That was my biggest message for humanity. That was my biggest teaching. And it can get very warped in a world where the control mechanisms are so loud. So, what I am choosing to leave you with today in this message is the purity of your desire. And are you seeing it as a connection to God? Or are you seeing it as an escape mechanism in order to not feel? Or are you labeling it as wrong or bad or shameful? And if you are, notice that that is a program. What happens when you allow your desires to just be in the moment that they are there, and then you let them go, and then another moment arises, and then another moment arises. The more present you are, the more you are in a flow state, in a now state, desire comes and goes. It's pure in its moment, and then it dissolves into something else. And then it's pure in its moment. You don't search for desire. That's addiction. That's attachment. That's you needing the desire in order to placate what you don't want to experience. If I just keep searching for this desire, I'll feel good in life. That's not the pure experience of desire. Desire arises and then it's gone, and then it arises and then it's gone. And in that moment of it arising is where you experience God at its purest form. You're not searching for it, seeking it, needing it, grabbing for it. It just arises. And you notice in that moment that it's arising as God in its highest expression. And then you give yourself to that experience and expression when it arises. You meet someone, you feel so incredible around them. And in that moment, you allow yourself to feel all of it. And you know that it can be gone in a minute, and you allow that to be so. And if you get another moment with that individual where you get to experience that pure expression with no attachments, what a gift that is from God. You don't seek it, search for it, yearn for it. That is getting attached to desire. She says there's no attachment to desire. When you attach to desire, you are getting lost in the inverted matrix. You just want desire to arise, and then desire gets to go. She keeps showing me like the human body, and she wants you to see the human body as just a vessel of light, pure. Things come in, things leave it. It's just a pure expression, right? And when something is delivered in front of you, whether it's an individual, whether it's a moment in nature, whether it's food, whether it's music, whether it's dancing, whether it's having beautiful, making love in bed or having sex or whatever it is, right? She says, whatever that moment is that's just igniting that fire in you, it's pure. There's no attachment to it. It never needs to be again. It never needs to come again. It never needs to arise again. It's just God inviting you into God in that moment. That's the purest expression. That's the light that you are that moves through the body as the vessel. And if you can start to see desire in that way, only in the now, then there will be no attachment. There will be no addiction. You'll start to purify yourself in all desire. And it gets to come and go whenever it is there and when it is not there. Pay attention to the fact that every desire is a unique connection to God. But if there is an underlying shadowy aspect of desire, you're trying to get something, you're trying to find something, fix something, feel something, reach something. Pay attention to that. That's the shadow. That's the inverted matrix of desire. When there is no attachment, no need, no fix, no trying to get something from it, but it just is, that's the highest expression. That is God meeting God. That is you meeting God. That is you meeting you in each moment. That was my teaching. It's very, very difficult to wrap the mind around this concept. It requires a very large attention to awareness. Why are you experiencing this? Why are you eating this? Why are you listening to this? Why are you out in nature? Why are you with this individual? Why are you craving to be around certain people? Why? Is it because of the actual just divine expression of God? Or is it that you are seeking something? You need something from that experience. If you're seeking for something, if you need something, if you're attached to it, if there's a dependency upon it, then it is not the purest expression of God. And so you want to be aware of that, the difference between just being in the desire of what is in the moment as its purest expression of God, or a seeking for it, a needing it, a pacifying something that you don't want to feel. That is the dance that you're in right now in this human evolution. So I was just asking her, I'm like, well, that's not true. So she was saying to me just now, she goes, that's why you're doing the water fast. And I said, "Why am I doing the water fast? Isn't it negating desire?" And she says, "You're getting extremely clear on desire. You're breaking it down. You're realizing how badly do you need food? Why do you need food? What is the craving? What happens when that desire is taken away? Where is God in that? Do you see God in food? What's your relationship to food? What's your relationship to that desire? What happens when it is gone? Where do you stand? Does God reside in everything? And where is your focus? If there is an addiction to food and that addiction is taken away, can you see God in its purest form in every sensation? God simply wants to be experienced through you as you, with everything in the external world, but not to be misused. So everything is this exchange of God or love. And so desire can be dangerous if there's an attachment to the desire, if there's a need for the desire, if there is a hold to the desire. But desire is the greatest gift of God if there is no grab in it, if it just arises and then it goes away and then it arises and it goes away. It just presents itself. So this is a complex teaching that she's offering us right now. It's pretty complex, but it's also the feels very much like our natural state, but really peeling back all the layers of the addictions and all the layers of the programming and all the layers of the shame and the guilt. It's just really peeling back the shadow and really and being able to experience God through all of these amazing things that we have in this world to experience, seeing it as the initial desire for something is God calling you to it. So long as you realize that it's not anything other than the moment of desire to experience God in its purest form. But humanity has to be so much more healed in order to really understand this. There has to be a lot more of the trauma released out of the body for humanity to really stand in this. Otherwise, because of how much trauma is in the human body and how unhealed the human is still, there is a lot of unconscious trauma that is being played out in humans' interactions. And so there's a fear of feeling certain things. And so when there is this connection and desire with God through food or entertainment or sex or love or whatever it may be, then it's projected onto that experience, which means that um, there's a projection of unworthiness, insecurity, not loved, not safe. And when you feel that God through something, you feel God through a person, through an interaction, an act, food, buying something, entertainment, whatever it is, you feel God in that moment, and it feels so good. And because you are not healed completely, you feel inadequate, you feel unsafe, and you feel this experience like, oh my God, this is everything. Then you crave it more and more and more. And it just feeds the shadow, it feeds the trauma, it feeds it. And so the human has to get very, very cleared of all that dense trauma in order to be able to understand that desire is just the highest expression of God, and it's going to feel so amazing and incredible, but it gets to come and then it gets to go because you are God. So every experience that's presenting you with this expression and experience of elated godliness is you. You don't need it. It's just the divine gifting you with the divine. And the more that you are whole and complete within your own human physical vessel as God, this holiness of God, then you realize that when you are gifted with the experience of that, the mirror of that, which is like, wow, this felt so incredible. This felt so good. Holy shit. You realize, wow, this is just a mirror of me. And I'm complete and whole. And so I do not need this. This is just God meeting me as God. And all of earth is this. It's God meeting God. The more pure we are in that awareness of who we are, we realize we don't need any of it. And so we're not addicted to the sex and the food and the drugs and the music and all these things that we feel like we need in order to satiate the deeper suppressed trauma in the body. We just begin to enjoy God through everything. So we're not there yet. Humanity isn't there yet. Let's get real clear on that. But this is a message, I think, that is coming through so that we can start to prepare ourselves for the way in which we are designed to live. Divine meeting divine in every interaction. And so this message is coming to us now because we are ready to hear it. We are ready to open to this. We are ready to acknowledge this and see this and feel this. And the more aware we can be of our addictions, of our neediness, of our attachments, the more we're aware of that, the more we will be able to let them go, release them so that we can stand as this divine whole expression of God. And experiencing God in each moment, while we also experience the chaos and the uncomfortable and the up and down, in and out. And so there is an ego, she says. There is the jealousy. There is the lower fields of expression, the anger, the rage. There is so much that's experienced in the human. But to be able to hold this knowingness and walk into this knowingness more and more is humanity's gift. It's humanity's birthright. Don't use desire as an excuse. So there's lots of excuses in the world right now of why I should be in my desires and keep doing my desires, and that's just a cop out to being addicted to a behavior or addicted to a lifestyle. You know, it's still playing in a large amount of shadow. It has to be the purest expression of that experience, which can only happen when you know that you are a whole, unified, divine expression of God yourself, and that you need nothing in order to feel that. When you know that you need nothing in order to feel the greatest experience ever, which is godliness within you, divinity within you, love within you. And I'm not speaking of loving yourself. I'm speaking of just this divine essence that is your purest expression. And you need nothing outside of yourself in order to experience that. Then you will have the purest expression of all desire. Because you will understand that desire is not necessary in order for you to feel who you are. And then life becomes this really big game of enjoyment because you know you don't need it. And so everything is just such a gift. You get to experience God in so much. I think I understand her message. I think I got it. I think it's clear. She's like, it's not for the faint of heart. It's not an easy teaching, understanding. But once you open to it, once you have the aha moment around it, then you can begin to walk into it. Because you have this clarity or this awareness around it now. It's quite beautiful. It is really how we are designed to live and that is what heaven on earth is all about. The Garden of Eden is all about this enjoyment of everything because it is God. And the temptation of evil or the temptation of darkness is just the splitting of giving a part of you to something outside of you. That you're not whole, you're not complete, you're not good, you're not God. And you give something of yourself over to something else because you don't feel complete, you don't feel whole, you don't feel worthy. You don't feel seen, whatever that is. We are born as these whole, divine, connected divinity expressions of God. And then the world tells us from second of the the first second of being alive on the planet in this body, you are immediately programmed into believing that you are not whole in this divine expression of God, and that everything else is whole and a divine expression of God, and everything gets to be as it is. Okay, I think she's complete for now. She's saying, I'm sorry, I'm just talking to her a little bit about the fast. She says, when you are addicted to something and you squelch it, you suffocate it, you don't give energy to it, um, you bring yourself back into wholeness. So if you think about any addiction that you may have, right, to anything, and that addiction doesn't have to be dangerous or bad, okay, but it's something where your energy is moved towards it, and it feeds off of your inability to remember your wholeness. It's the best way to describe this. So imagine one thing in your life that you sort of go to that numbs you out or that makes you feel good or that, just gives you an escape. Nothing wrong with this, but what is that, right? And imagine if you were to take that away. If you did a fast on that and that was no longer allowed in your world, where would you go? You would be going inward more. All that energy that was moved towards that thing would have to come back in. And that would mean that you would have to recognize some sort of state of wholeness within you that this pattern or addiction took from you. Again, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can be anything. But when it's taken away, cold turkey, gone, you have these withdrawals, you freak out. The devil tries to play games with you and say, oh, you need this. This is good for you. This helps you. This numbs you. This helps you navigate life. And it's like when Eve ate the fruit on the tree or whatever that was, that story, right? It's the same thing. It says it's this, this temptation of you need this in order to survive, and it's inverting the actual desire, right? The desire of eating or the desire of watching TV or the desire of always being in somebody's company. That desire is a beautiful expression of God if it's just pure, if it's coming from a state where you're already whole, so you don't need it for anything. Okay. And so when you do fasts of some sort and you stop that completely, which is also why fasting is spoken about in the Bible, or it was taken out, but why fasting is so powerful is because it brings you back into wholeness. It brings you back into the divinity of God within you. And so that's why this is just coming in right now. This is really, really profound, but or for me, it's profound. Um, but it's when you can cut the leak of energy towards something, then you can bring yourself back into that. It's very difficult, but you bring yourself back into the divinity of God within you. And then you become kind of more whole, more complete. That's why people speak of the highs they get when they're on fasts. It's because nothing's taking their energy. So they feel their divinity. She's saying, exactly. Great. She says, great speech. You got it. You got it. It's very interesting. God, I really hope this is making sense to all of you. Okay. I think I'm going to open my eyes now and come back. But wow. Wow. I was not, um, yeah, I was not expecting that. That was really, really beautiful. Um, that was a really profound message. Um, wow. Okay. I was getting so hot, I had to take my sweatshirt off. Um, wow, 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 wow. Did you guys get it? It started off really confusing for me. I was like, "Wait, I'm so confused." I couldn't grasp what she was saying. I couldn't grasp it, and then all of a sudden, it started to come through, and I was like, "Oh, this is I got it." And then it started to make sense. Because I couldn't figure out what she was getting at. I couldn't figure out that clarity piece. And then I couldn't it was hard for me to figure out the desire piece. Like, well, wait, is desire good? Is it bad? Like, I couldn't get it. And then it came full circle and it was like, oh, oh, desire is divinity in physicality, designed to enable us to feel and experience our own divinity. But if we are not whole and complete, when we are experiencing that desire, divinity, then we are going to seek for it, attach to it, need it, want it, crave it. And and that's when it leaks from our system and then we lose our wholeness and then we seek the external world. We are in the seeking mode in the external world for so much in order to feel that completeness, in order to feel that wholeness, in order to feel like God. Or that's why we're addicted to even the people are not going to like this, but even the medicine journeys, people get addicted to them. There's a desire to do them because they give you this feeling of divinity, of divineness, of bliss, except that it's already in you. And so one interaction with it is the divinity, is divine coming together with divine. But if there continues to be this need for it, that's what she's speaking of. That is the inversion of the matrix. We want to pay attention to desire in the essence, in the sense of desire just arising in that moment, and the desire where we are now seeking it and needing it. Very, very, very thin line between those two, right? But if you can tap into what it feels like to be whole, that divine wholeness, I don't need anything outside of me to feel complete, to feel whole. And when I know that, then in each experience that I have where I'm desiring something, is it complete once it's complete? Or do I still keep feeling the need to have it? The desire of it. That's where it gets dangerous and unclean, so to speak. When we are continuing to desire something, not because it's right now in our field, but it's because you want that experience again and again, which means that you don't believe that you have it right here, right now, always. I have it right here, right now. I am whole and complete as this divinity. Now, food is very tricky because the body is hungry and so we eat. But it's also God gifting us with this amazing, incredible feeling when we eat it. And so are you craving food because you want to experience that feeling of God? Or are you craving it because the body's like, I'm hungry, I need you to give me some energy, and then we can go about our day? Now, if you're whole and complete, which most of us are still navigating humbly, most of us, if we are whole and complete, we will only be eating when the body says it's time to eat. And we have this beautiful sensation and experience of divinity and God through food. And it just is so great. And then it's done. You're not craving food so that you can feel that divinity. Um, oh, interesting. I'm really loving this message. Really, I want to put this one up on YouTube.